Whoa.
You know me, I'm just getting that piss all up in there. Anyway. Hello everybody and welcome to Analytical Fanboys, the Modular Media Monthly Media Club podcast where one of us picks something and the others have to watch it, no matter what. This week, I was the picker and I decided since it's my first pick back as a host of this show in a little over a year, I'd go with something that I never did on my original run. Something that I actually haven't seen before, because originally the premise was of the show was just that Boingo and I were trying to get to know each other better because we had only just become friends. So it was like we're trying to show each other some of our favorite stuff. But as time went on, we've started just going into like, hey, I want to watch this, and you guys might as well come along for the ride. And seeing as it is currently the summer of Superman, I chose to pick Superman and the Mole Men, the first feature-length Superman anything from 1951. And joining me in the discussion of that are Boingo Rider.
Hello.
Snowcone83.
Hello.
And Buster Corp.
Yo, yo.
So, fellas, I figure we might as well do the old round robin to kick things off and just say like, hey, had we seen this before? And what were kind of our general feelings coming out of it? Let's start off with Boingo.
No, I haven't seen it before, and the best way I can describe coming out of it was just, oh, that's a Superman story.
Right on.
That sure is Superman.
Yeah. It's almost like this was pretty close to when he was created, so it would have been hard to screw up.
Say that, but Steel came out like 3 years after the character was created.
Oh.
Robin Reyes showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like a year after he was created.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I should have though. Buster, how you liking the movie?
I didn't.
Oh no.
Okay, it's not. I've watched way worse. As people know, I've watched way worse movies. I just thought this was kind of boring. Like, I wanted to fight, like, the concept of Superman and the Mole Man, that sounds like a great time with riffing with the boys. This was a struggle, man. This was kind of, like, the effects were fine. The effects were fine for the time. The Mole Men could look better, but, they're still funny to look at. I like when they skip around. But outside of a couple cool speeches from Superman, I just didn't get much out of this.
That's fair. We can go more into that in a minute. But Snowcone, how are you feeling?
One of these days, Lois.
All right, that's it. Podcast over. He did it.
We tell fuck.
I was scared it was going to be ultra dated. It thankfully was shockingly not as dated.
Yeah, let's get into that because, like, I think this movie it's ahead of its time, but it is still dated.
I don't know about ahead of its time. I mean,
Well,
I didn't mean to just directly disagree with you.
No. We can talk about this. Because I have a whole thing about this movie where I had always heard that, like, this is an extremely progressive for its time movie about race relations. And I think that is true, but it's also, like, it's shocking to watch this and realize how different being progressive was in the 50s to now, or even just like 20 years ago. Because the big progressive message of this movie is like, hey, there's not going to be fucking racial killings as long as we all stay the fuck away from each other.
We'll kill each other if we
Yeah, the ending, like, if we may skip to the ending, it was just words, like, they kind of just be like, oh, they just put the Mole Man away from the humans, and it's just like, all right, everything's all good, and it's like, we didn't really solve.
That's very, like...
Realistically,
the last line from Lois
are going home.
Yeah.
The last line from Lois is, like, such a slap in the face to a modern viewer, I feel.
Yeah, it's kind of like But it's a Superman story. It's still like it doesn't really get the character wrong. It's just as like just a story. It's just kind of I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Like,
of its
honestly,
time,
if you
but
just cut that
it is
last line,
progressive of its time, but it is of its time.
yeah. Because essentially, we haven't even talked about the plot of this movie. It's fucking Clark and Lois go to a small town in Texas, which supposedly has the world's deepest oil well. And they're shutting the oil well down because they found something. And it turns out the thing they found was a fucking subterranean universe with mole people in it. And the mole people start looking around. And then everybody in the small town goes like, they're freaks, kill them! And Superman has to spend the whole movie going like, leave them alone. You go back in the hole. They won't hurt you if you go back in your hole.
Very very realistic angry mob though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the angry mob was pretty funny.
They did call them a lynch mob. And I
He
mean,
straight up calls them Nazi stormtroopers at one point and starts taking away their guns. And I was like,
well, yeah,
we got
and I'm
the
like,
James
oh,
Gunn
okay,
movie,
yeah,
please?
that was six years or probably 5 years prior to this being made. What do you mean? Them Nazis were like right around
Yeah.
this movie.
I mean, hey, it's heavily implied they were in Texas. The Nazis were right around the corner. They were just wearing white sheets, not red armbands.
Exactly.
I mean, they directly said "hang them" kind of things.
Oh yeah, I'm just
He said he wants to
also
string them up at one point.
Yeah.
Civil rights movements. Just like I don't know, it's an interesting look at. It's a very like bland, interesting look at like a certain part of time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But for like a young 8-year-old's first introduction to like even something seemingly progressive politics, it's like for the 50s, okay, I can understand it being not groundbreaking by our standards, but like, oh, this
No,
yeah.
Yeah, for the
I
50s, it's definitely great. But when you said 8-year-old, I was gonna have to put the asterisk there now of like assuming their attention span hasn't been destroyed by electronics, because there are so many scenes in this movie of people just standing around talking, which is pretty par for the course for 50s sci-fi. But like I could imagine a kid, like, not to insult you as a stray buster, but like I could imagine a kid watching this and being bored out of their mind.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't mind talking. You just like for me, you need to like pace the like talking to me is also just something you got to pace well. Like for my attention, like I know ADHD, autism, it's a whole thing, but like for me, you gotta like even pace that well or edit it well or just do something with the dialogue. And like I've watched 50s movies like the original Godzilla or just anything that just like being like, all right, I'm into this. Like I love Buster Keaton like things from the 30s and 40s. Like those are really. I mean, granted, those don't really have dialogue, so to just but like you get what I mean. I can handle like an older thing. Like I grew up with a bunch of Tom and Jerry cartoons. It's just this one just didn't really like. I don't think it's. I don't know. Just the dialogue was very dry. Is very like again. Besides some Superman speeches, I was kind of like out of my mind. I was just like, can this end already? And it was only 50 minutes.
I think that is like the big fault of the movie, which we're calling a movie. It's the pilot for the 50s TV show.
Yeah. It's too long.
Well, it's technically a pilot. There is a proper pilot for Adventures of Superman is the name of that show. But they made this, I think after they shot the first season, they made this as like a separate thing to promote that there was going to be a show, because in the 50s in America, not a lot of people had TVs yet. So making a movie to promote a film was a much more or making a movie to promote an upcoming show was a much more common thing of like, hey, if you like this, go buy a TV set and watch it when it starts airing.
Yeah. I will say George Reeves, pretty solid Superman. Like
Yeah.
I like his Clark, especially like I just big fan of again. I like 1950s talk. I like these kind of like old timey like radio esque like voices. I just wish
I like how there's like barely a difference between his Clark and his Superman. It's all in the posture. He's still very commanding as Clark.
Yeah,
dude,
like
he's a little sassy with that. Where like what was that comment he made? He's like, "Oh, I'd be the one to know." It's like,
Yeah.
well,
Hang on. Lois says something like, know about Superman, and he's like, I'm the one who should.
Hey, this guy's acting pretty fucking weird right here, man. Did y'all hear that just now? Like,
one thing I want to say about George Reeve, like, he works really well as Superman, partially because looking at him and just going like, "Oh, you have a kind face. You look like a guy who would like go out of his way to rescue a cat out of a tree."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's nothing extraordinary about his build, but he has the right posture and the right mannerisms, and he has that face, which is kind of incredible that he looks as good as he does, because when they shot this movie, I believe he was in his 40s.
Yeah, this is a bit of an older Superman.
Which was actually the style of the time, now that I think about it, because like Golden Silver Age comics always depicted Superman as being a much more Centaurian figure.
Yeah, like even like in Crisis of Infinite Earths, though, like the first Superman was like kind of like shown to be like have a little more gray hair than like the Superman of the Silver Age, you know?
And
it's also because he's supposed to be from the older time, like lived longer.
Yeah, that you know what I mean. Yeah, but just
the older time.
The older times, you know,
when everyone drove a
potatoes.
Studebaker.
All right,
you made potatoes out of cocaine.
Let's talk about the Mole-Men.
That's how you know it's a low budget movie.
Okay, I thought we were actually like. I mean, look, they're not even like tried. Like, I don't mind low budget. Like, again, I don't mind the effects in this. It's just the dialogue and pacing was just bad for me. Why did they look more like freaking like big-headed aliens than like mole people? I don't. What's so moley about them?
The only thing that feels moley about them is that they're furry and they live underground. You could have as easily called them the hedgehog people or the groundhog people. Sorry.
Halfway through this for me, I was like, why would they think they're creatures and not just people? And I'm like watching, and they're like, "Oh my god, look at that monster!" And I'm like, it looks like an old guy just in the woods. What do you mean? And I forget that the cover, the poster that I saw for this movie has them painted green, like Alien.
Yeah. So I think they're probably supposed to be green, but because it's in black and white, you can't tell.
Yeah, so I guess like you'd be walking outside back in the olden day and be like, "Oh, jeepers, look at that green fucking thing right there." And then go see the movie in black and white.
Green,
and
because remember, they're covered in phosphorus dust.
Which they would actually just glow white.
Wait a minute. I just remembered. I saved to my computer because I didn't know if we'd want to get like color images for thumbnails for this. There's a lobby card of them colorized, which used to be a thing with theaters. They'd have these giant standee lobby cards outside of movies, so you would know what you were walking in to see.
I mean, they still kind of do that.
And I don't know if this was based on anything or if this was just colorized by somebody who hadn't seen the movie, but the Mole-Men are flesh toned.
I saw art that showed them green.
Yeah. The poster has them green. The advertisement that was put in Superman comics at the time has them green, but this lobby card has them flesh colored for some reason.
Again, I reiterate of my vibes on them is just the guy from The Princess Bride.
There's a bunch of tiny little guys.
Just tiny little the Sicilians from The Princess Bride.
Tiny little children we hired from around the corner and told them to act kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Their eyebrows are very 50s sci-fi, I will say.
Here's the thing. You guys brought up a lot of like, racial ideas with the Mole-Men. My brain was like,
that's because it's from the 50s and I was scared.
I mean,
my brain went to Red Scare. I thought it was more of a communism thing. And Superman was like going, hey, don't worry about the Soviet Union. Let them do their thing. Let us do our thing.
Nah, we were just shy of that. Just shy of it.
Also,
but like, see, that's where my brain went to. But like the racial, fucked up way makes a little bit more sense.
A classic American them versus us. With we know what side was going on with that.
Well, I understand why Cody was worried about it because the Fleischer Superman cartoons, I watched them all recently for a different podcast, and like there was a couple like propaganda cartoons there that were like, oh, big yikes, like the Japanese, especially the ones really revolving around Japan and like just or like an Indian
Yellow
scientist, like
scare type stuff.
yeah, yellow scare type stuff, like because it was made around the world.
Oh yeah, there's shit that when we were like children, we had no fucking idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God,
Anyway,
Oh man, I
plenty
just
of
look
those
back
old
on, like,
cartoons.
yeah, like I remember watching old Looney Tunes on Boomerang, and I'm just going like, oh wait a second, that was a racial thing. Oh, that was also racist. Oh, Bugs Bunny did a shitty
No,
Japanese accent
man.
there.
All right, dude. No, even Baby Me knew the Chinese Bugs Bunny was a little much on that one.
yeah.
No, it's, you know what I mean, you fuckhead.
I know. I'm just saying that was real fucked.
It was fucked up, and I don't think they played it often. But I'm more thinking like the Gremlin short. That's not directly about the Japanese, but like the Gremlin still has a lot of the Japanese racial stereotype things.
The
Yeah.
Gremlin.
Anyway,
Can we talk
we talked a bit about George Reeves as Superman. We didn't talk at all about Phyllis Coates as Lois Lane in this.
No,
She's
we did.
alright.
She's all right. Lois definitely needs a feminist revolution, though.
Yeah.
There's
this
like
is-
one good moment where she confronts the mob and like slaps the leader, but that's
Somebody
kind
get her
of
out of the way.
Yeah, the rest of the time she's really just subservient to Clark. Not
yeah. Not optimal.
But I mean,
I
like,
wish.
here's the thing. For the time, that was progressive and feminist of like, oh, she can handle herself, but she wants the man to do.
No, it was definitely more like,
No.
oh, she spoke
Yeah.
back to her husband.
I don't
Yeah,
know,
and also
because
like even the Fleischer like cartoon, she had more of a mouth or had a little more agency at certain points. Like it wasn't perfect, but like
I wonder
like
how I wonder how that translated in the show, because we're talking about one thing. How is it in the rest of the show?
I have watched the first couple episodes of Adventures of Superman, and I do remember them finding like funny, out of the way ways to show that Lois was more assertive than Clark. Like there's a thing where Clark drives Lois all the way to an interview, and then she goes in and starts doing the interview and sits down, and Clark is just kind of standing there with his hands in his pockets for a few minutes, and then I don't think it's like she straight up says you can go, but it's like, Clark, don't you have another thing to go report on? And he's like, oh yeah, and then he just leaves, and it's clearly like, oh, she just used him.
Yeah.
Just stuff
Classic
like that.
50s movies, like later 50s, mid 50s would show coy, seductive, like leading foolish men type vibe.
Which is very different from here, where it's like Clark and Lois have no relationship outside of being co-workers, and yet Clark is doing all this like borderline detective, hard-hitting investigative reporter shit, and he's just going and talking about it to Lois later.
Yeah. It was a bit odd, see, because like Clark usually like I don't know, like he does take action. It's just like the way he did it just felt like very like surreal to see like a Superman do. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain it.
Here's the thing. I do like how most of it was Clark investigating, and he only pulled out Superman. I was like, nope, people are being assholes. I got to be Superman now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like if he
Last
could,
resort.
he would have.
Go ahead.
It feels like if he could, he would have solved the whole thing as Clark. Like he didn't want to be Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Superman's like the break glass in case of emergency for this Clark.
Yeah, which is kind of a cool idea. It just it is what it is.
Though
Like,
it does lead to really funny moments where like he says like, oh, we got to do this, we got to stop them from doing this, and then he just runs away, and Lois is like, he's always doing that, I don't understand.
I mean, very classic. Very like like I said with the initial thing. It's like, yep, this is a classic Superman story. You know, it has all the elements. It has weird little sci-fi thing, but Clark's a good guy and he sees the best in things and realizes, oh, there's been a huge misunderstanding, and only uses violence in order to de-escalate violence, essentially.
Yeah, he never really fights anybody. He just kind of disarms people and then picks them up and goes like, really? You want to keep doing this?
I love
And
how
the
he
same model car from the first issue
Oh yeah,
was
Is
driving
it?
around.
yeah. I think.
Yeah, I mean it's from the same type of time, so I doubt it was like, hey, let's get that car in there, and more like, hey, let's get
This
every
this
popular
is the car
sedan on
we
the street
have.
right now.
Yeah, because that was right before the huge wing era of the 50s started.
You know, the Gundam Wing era of the 50s.
The Gundam Wing era.
I see. That's the difference between you and me, Cody. You think the Gundam joke. I think of like Mr. Regular from YouTube going the wing a ding a ding a ding a ding a.
I mean, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to talk about Superman fighting one of his classic bad guys, random man with a gun.
Yeah, that was fun. That was one of the most funny moments. I just like just seeing like the mob in general was just funny to me. Just very amusing.
That's
shit.
another thing about the show, though, is like there's very few comic book supervillains in it, from my understanding. It's all like random people getting up to crime, and then Clark having to step in.
Well, I mean, let me ask you this: when were all Superman's big villains invented?
I think Lex is a very early creation, but obviously he's radically different from what we understand him to be. I know that this is post the radio show, which means this is post Kryptonite's invention, but I don't think Kryptonite ever crops up in the show.
But like the Parasite was late 70s, Lobo was 80s, Brainiac was in the 60s, Toyman was 60s, 70s, Nixie Pitlick, he was definitely a 60s character.
I mean, you could have put the Ultra Humanite in the show. Gorilla suits are fairly cheap.
Well, what I'm saying is like Superman didn't have that many bad guys yet.
Yeah.
So, like-
I'm not saying it to be like a detracting thing. I just think it's an interesting thing to note.
Yeah. It's like I don't really mind that there's no like freaking what's it called, the like comics, like it is what it is. I just don't just want them to tell good stories, but just it is what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Things just move and go in certain directions, you know.
Yeah. Also, just like talking about like interesting little things about the movie. I love how like it's set in Texas and it's the 50s. So like the sheriff looks like just an ancient decrepit cowboy who never stopped cowboying.
There's plenty of those around at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still plenty around today.
Yeah, but that was there was a different true percentage of like cowboyness versus cop.
Yeah. It's also just interesting that like the security officer for the mine is wearing like more of a what I would think of as a police officer's uniform for the time than the actual sheriff is.
I do like how they fuck off. How I have music in my soul. Of course, I'm gonna hit a note. I like how they brought up the radium because the radium girls had already happened at that time. So it was like that was like cutting edge. Not cutting edge, but like contemporary. Like, oh, we got to be careful about radium kind of thing.
Well, it's also like it's post the invention of the nuclear bomb, and this is at the time when like nuclear stuff was starting to really permeate science fiction. So it's very of its time, but it's like this whole movie I feel like is just a very interesting window into what superhero fiction was like, what Superman himself was like, and what sci-fi was like at this time.
Yeah, there's better examples. Like I feel like I've gotten more entertainment out of the older Flash Gordon serials that I've seen over this.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Fair.
A lot of the other pieces of material that are in a similar vein to this, like aimed for more and thus are kind of like charming. This knew the exact budget it had. It knew exactly what it can do and how it can do it in the best and easiest efficient way possible. It is a very safe production.
Yeah.
The most extreme thing about it is this is the only time you actually see George Reeves take off and start flying as Superman. This is the only time they did wire work.
Oh.
Because when they started doing it on the show, like one of the first times they went to do it, a wire snapped and he like almost broke his arm, and he was like, "We're never doing that shit again unless you want to get a stunt double."
Damn.
I mean, understandable.
Yeah, but like still, like dang.
But that's why you now have the iconic thing of him jumping on a trampoline that's just below frame.
The flying or aerial shots were definitely a like a boom truck driving
Yeah,
down
the
a
one
bumpy
shot where he's
road.
flying above the angry mob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually
You know-
watching that sequence in my other monitor right now, and I forgot about like how goofy they got with the angry mob. Like the one guy who lags behind and starts taking off the barber pole.
Yeah, that was silly.
Yeah,
I appreciated that gag.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'm going to remember about this when it's all said and done, besides this podcast, is the angry mob. Just because I find the concept of angry mobs really funny in like old 50s and 60s
And
and
that's
40s
also just
media.
funny, like only the leader guy was incompetent, and everyone else was just like, what?
They just did exactly what he said. Like this is like it is a town full of simpletons and like a couple of really competent guys with ideas above their stations.
Yeah. What was I also about to say? Fucking shit. I had a thought.
You had a thought, but not anymore. Any wrap ups we want to do? I feel like we're squeezing blood from a stone.
We are. It's
I'll
a very
squeeze blood
simple
from
beat.
your stones.
Whoa.
Hey yo.
That's some sexual assault right there, sir.
Anyway.
Okay, give your final thoughts, Buster.
I didn't like it, but it was kind of neat to revisit. It was kind of neat to visit it, like as like, oh, it's a thing from like the whole older times. It's like, oh, this is how Superman was portrayed back in the day. Yeah.
Remember, this is only like 18 years after he was created, and I think he's created in 31, so this is literally 20 years after he was created. And we're now almost 75 years from when this movie came out.
Yeah. Just like if you want like older Superman like adaptational media, just watch the Fleischer cartoons. For me, there.
Yeah, I think that's a more golden idea, a more standardized idea of Superman.
They're not
It's
perfect.
it's more vibrant.
Yeah,
It's more evergreen
exciting.
to an extent.
That ain't black and white.
All right. You got anything to say to wrap up, Snowcone?
I sure don't.
Oh damn.
It was interesting to see the man that Ben Affleck played in Hollywoodland.
I still need to see Hollywoodland. I've heard good things about it. But yeah, no. I thought this was interesting. I thought it was kind of fun. It's not something you should really go out of your way to see if you're not already interested in it. But like if you're a big Superman fan and you haven't seen it, I'd say it's worth just like a lazy watch on a Sunday afternoon, but don't make a huge production out of it. Because, hey, it wasn't even a huge production. They shot this movie in a week and a half.
I gotta give it to them, knowing their budget, knowing what they can do, and being able to execute it efficiently.
Well, anyway, that's it. That's all we really got to say about Superman and the Mole Men. We actually, congratulations, Buster. You were right. The podcast is shorter than the fucking movie. But I guess I better hand things off to Boingo now because it's your turn next, sir.
Yes. And here's the thing. I was brainstorming for a little bit, just trying to figure out what I would like to do, because it's like I don't want to.
That's usually what we do.
Yeah, it's usually what we do. But also, like, part of me didn't want to go like, I want to pick a really weird and off the wall thing to make all my friends challenge. It's like, no, I want to do something nice and like something I'm pretty sure all of them would like and vibe with to an extent. But I also want to like have some fun, interesting conversations and bring some like research into it on my end. You know, nothing that you guys have to do, but me being a fucking idiot going like, homework? So, we are going to dive into... I'm trying to get a good picture to show you. Never mind. I'll just say it. We're going to dive into the record of Lodos War.
Oh!
I have no idea what that is.
You just said some words at me, and I'm not sure what they are.
The record of Lodos War is a classic anime fantasy series with a lot of
Ooh.
interesting bits and pieces that
What
we'll
the
talk
fuck,
about
dude?
next month.
Oh,
But,
I've
like-
seen this elf lady before.
Yeah, you have seen this elf lady before, and we will get to that next time.
Wait, how
Oh,
many
no.
episodes is this?
About 8, 9.
Okay. I thought this was gonna be like the Legend of the Galactic Heroes or whatever.
Oh no. There's a reason you've seen this elf lady before, but that's a next time conversation.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we're going to dive into the Record of Lodoss War, the classic OVA. There is subtitles, but there is also a of the time quality English dub about the quality of like English Berserk. So if you want to watch English, you can. If you want to watch subtitled, you can. I'm going to do extra work. But yeah, there we go.
Okay, I didn't
Hell
expect
yeah.
to go back to another fantasy thing so soon after Berserk, but all right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Here we
The
go
vibes
again.
feel right. The vibes feel right for me.
Nah, understandable. I'm excited to check this out because I've heard of this. So.
Oh,
Okay.
there's a lot of things to be talking about with this, but also just realizing this may be another blonde girl for Sim.
Oh goddamn!
I mean, I did say I've seen her before.
Yep.
Let me see
but-
how I've seen her before. I'm pretty sure I know.
But in the meantime, we should probably plug our
Oh,
stuff.
no.
Simeon, plug your shit.
Hey everybody, I'm Simeon Scott. I do toy photography and occasionally other things, but mostly I just sit around in my apartment and mess with action figures these days. Keep to myself, try not to cause any trouble, except when I do. So go check all that out by clicking on my link tree, which is down in the video description.
Alrighty, tidy. Busto.
Hi, I'm Buster Corp. I do too many stupid videos on too many stupid things at the Buster Corp channel. I'm also on Bluesky where I'm yapping about Expedition 33 right now. That's all.
Snoko.
Hey there, everybody. My name is Snowcone83, and you can find me at Blue Sky at Snowcone83 or at Instagram at never_robot.
Hell yeah. And I am Boingo Rider. You can find me on a variety of places at YouTube at Boingo Rider, twitch.tv/Boingo Rider. And that me saying isn't pointless because, hey, I've actually been streaming. Fuck yeah. At Blue Sky at Boingo Rider. This has been Modular Media, Analytical Fanboys, monthly media cast. You know what that is. If you would like to see this and any other podcast we do, please subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave a comment and a like on this one, and follow us on any podcasting platform of your choosing that you're listening to us on. It really helps us out. In the meantime, does anybody else have anything else they would like to say?
Truth, justice,
No.
and all that other stuff.
In the American gay. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.